grain for the cows, cat bowl, and just an ice cream bucket to milk in right now. I'm just milking one cow, and she's down to about half a gallon of milking. And she's, well, we're calf sharing, so yeah.
And by calf sharing, you actually,
well,
the calf just lets
the calf is
nurse.
just on her all the time, and so we're not actually locking the calf up at this point.
Yeah.
As the calf takes more, then we'll lock the calf up as needed to milk and get the milk we need. All ready for breakfast. Right here, get some cat food for the cats. And rolled three-way with molasses for the cow. Little milk this morning. About 3/4 of a gallon. And we're ready.
And you only feed grain to the cows you're milking, right?
Yes.
You don't feed grain at a, like
No.
for the other ones.
We don't bring the other. No.
And you can show us once we're out there, but how much do you feed the cows, like normally? How much hay?
Well, when we're feeding in the wintertime, then about 15 pounds a day for a full-size cow is what we feed. And we feed them alfalfa with some grass hay. Take care of our mousing machines. These are cats or barn cats, whatever you want to call them, and they take care of our mice on the farm because we don't like mice on the farm. So, those are chickens, our adult chickens. These guys are about 4 years old, and they're still producing eggs pretty good. Okay, so in here we have the chickens. So we feed our chickens, this is feed wheat at our local granary. They have this kind of culled wheat. It's not cleaned, and we use it because it's fairly inexpensive. And so we give them some of that here, and sometimes we'll throw it out in the pen for them to scratch at. And then these are pellets. And they don't eat as many pellets as they do the feed wheat.
So that just goes in a little feeder.
Oh, this is a little feeder. This is our water trough, which is needs cleaned. It's a sink that's cut, a stainless steel sink that's been cut in half because our neighbor used the other half, and then they stick their heads through the slots, and then we just fill that up.
We actually did a whole video on our chicken coop. You can look at in the archives on the YouTube channel, but
yeah, and that's anyway
for the details on that.
And we have new chicks. So
New chick.
Okay, wait just a second, buddy.
So we'll get them, check their food and water, and they're looking good. These guys are, the neighbor hatched these out, and got a mixed match of chicks. And anyway.
And we also have a video on caring for baby chicks, how we do that. Just gonna take the food out, and it's gonna empty out the yucky water from those
So
baby
on baby
chicks.
chicks, the first 3 days, we feed them, this is a plastic bottle, so we put a rock in it to keep it weighted down so they don't tip it over. But for the first 3 days, we give them this tetracycline, hydrochloride, anyway, in their water. They recommend that for baby chicks for the first 3 days, and so that's what we do. And they seem to do really well with it. Unless our lamps go out and it's really cold, we usually don't lose any chicks. Just give them about a teaspoon of that in a quart of water.
These ones are 3 weeks old. They're the older batch of Leghorns. So we typically get the eggs from the chickens at night. They didn't have any this morning. In the early spring, then the cows are really anxious to come in and they like to be milked. And now that there's nice green grass, it takes a little bit more prodding to get him in. He can't just call her, but she's still really good to come and be milked.
Lock her head in, and then this we have so we can adjust. If it's a smaller cow, we can adjust to kick them over because we have them up on the stand. I know there's a bazillion different kinds of milk stands.
The other cows want hay, but they're not getting it right now, so.
They want to get out on the green grass.
After the milking, we take them out on the bigger pasture that has more fresh grass, and they're anxious.
Okay. So her calf's nursing her, so she really is down.
So you just kind of wipe her off before you milk, and that's it?
I just wiped her off because she just had dust on her. Just in the last week, her calf had been leaving one teat unmilked and sucked it. Ever since it was born.
And you had 3 cows that had babies, and did you milk all of them a little bit?
Yes.
At first?
Milked them all. 2 of them were first-year heifers that calved, and so we're training them, but they haven't had a ton of milk, and so we haven't calf shared with them. I milked them until their calves took over. The one, she could be milked, but she's very anxious, very nervous, so I don't know that I would sell her as a milk cow.
She kicked you a couple times, or?
Yeah, she got a pretty good kick. I mean, you could restrain her, but to me it's not worth it. And so, yeah. Yep, this was our first Dexter cow. Well, we had 2 of them, and we got rid of the other one. But Dominique's been with us for 8 or 9 years now, and she's always been a good milker.
You get quite a bit of milk from her at first, and
yeah, easy 2.5 gallons a day with a fresh calf. She gives a lot, but that calf is she's a little over 2 months old now, and that calf is taking most of the milk and growing like a weed.
Which is kind of nice when you want to like travel and stuff in the summer. You kind of let the calf take over, so you don't have to.
Yep.
But then when you want to make ice cream or something, then you just separate the calf and get some milk.
Yep, leave it locked in overnight. And so that's all we're gonna get out of her today. Not a ton, but it's enough to get us served. So, okay, Dominique. Yeah, let you go. Then we come on in here, and I'm just supplementing. We've got them on green grass somewhat. And so I just feed them. This is some of our own grass hay. got a little bit of clover, a little bit of alfalfa. We just started them, like I said, on green grass, and so that's really what they want.
And I think we did a video I can link to on the feeding hay shed here, but there's this stall where they can eat and then another one there so that Grandma and Grandpa can just come back in here and get the hay and throw it in. So especially in the spring and winter, it gets pretty sloppy out in the corral there, and this just makes it really easy to not be with the cows while they're anxious to get their food. So
and then we use this area right here as our nursery. We'll bring the cows in here and they calve during the spring when it's wet and cold, and then they calve in here, and we leave them in here for 2 or 3 days, or even a week or 10 days depending on the necessity, and then we'll turn them into this little pen right here, and they'll be alone, and then you're right next to the milker, and so we can bring them into milk from either side.
there's the other pen.
And it works really well, and so because this pen's pretty protected from the wind and they've got shelter they can go into, and so it works really well as a nursery area for our cows.
That's nice.
So, yeah, well, this spring we had 2 that calved within 24 hours, and so one was out there in that corral, and then there's a little calf pen right here where they can go in, and that's actually where the one calf was birthed, right there next to the milk stand.
So another little stall.
Yep. So it works good.
So and this is
And
the
that's our milk
ties them up.
stanchion. Yeah, depending on the size, you can twist the wire, you know, because some of their heads are a little smaller, and it works good for us that way. We like having them up off the ground because there's especially like Dominique, her udder is so low, it's hard on your back to reach them, and so we like having them up.
And that's like 6 inches or something.
Yeah, it's a 2x6 on edge with a rubber mat on there. But yeah, this is okay, and then that's.
And they're done, and they go back out for some fresh grass. And
Usually when we're milking good, then I save a little bit of milk for the cats, but milk's a little more sparse now, and so the cats miss out. Although they get the drippings from the cheese making, and we often have a lot of whey water and stuff we feed the chickens and the cats. Chickens do well on that whey water. It's good protein and feed for them. So, yep. That's the morning routine. Give them some water, make sure their water's good, and it is, so that's it for the morning. I'll let them out on the green grass for a while. You know, we let them out for 2 or 3 hours out on the green grass to eat, and that seems to do them good. Yeah, especially for the cows. The ones we're trying to beef up, they'd be better off all day, and we'll set it up so that we're doing that here soon. So.
do you have one that you're gonna butcher this fall?
Yep, right there.
Right.
Yep, this guy. This is our steer. So he's right now 16, 18 months old.
And you try to butcher them around 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Depends on when they were born. Some you've kept a second winter or a third. Is it third?
No.
No, second winter.
No, yeah. Maybe 2 winters. But.
So, and then this is a 1-year-old steer here.
And so this is a heifer. So we're gonna breed her here in a few weeks. You like them to be old enough when they calve that they're 2 years old when they calve, or close to it. And so we will breed her here in June. And then this steer, and then that steer we'll butcher next summer. So yeah, he just went through his second winter, and then we'll butcher him like in August, September, around in there.
Before you have to start feeding a bunch of hay again in the fall.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's what we'll do.
Let's see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cows and then 3 calves right now?
Yep, and 3 calves. So the red, she's a first-time heifer, Ginger. And then April's a first-time heifer. She's the one with the kick, and her mom was exactly the same. She just would milk fine for a while, and then she just would decide to kick. And anyway, but we don't have any trouble with these guys. They're pretty calm and
pretty mellow.
Mellow, yeah. We don't have trouble with them. But yeah, so this is Siri. She's was born just a little over a year ago, and nice heifer, and she's out of Dominique and Fire. Is her?
You really like that combination. That's
yeah,
really
Dominique
good.
and Fire. Fire. He's a good beefy cow. Now these two are out of Yakima, and Yakima has bred pretty good udders, and
we do all of our breeding with AI, which we have a video about how we do that, but that works really well for us.
Yeah. When we put the cows out on pasture, especially because we just started this week, but especially the first day or two, when you put them out on that fresh grass, clover, then feed them some dry hay before you put them out to get their stomach, get that in their stomach, because you always chance bloating the cow putting it out on fresh grass for the first time, especially. I mean, they can bloat anytime if you're not careful, especially on alfalfa or clover, wet, on an empty stomach. But if they get some of that dry hay in their stomach and then you let them out, then they're a lot better off. And so we'll just let them out. And it's been like, well, it's just been like, this is like 4th, 5th day that we're letting them out in here. So, okay. So this is our hay field out here, and we have a ditches on both sides of it. So we just put a hot wire around the hay, and then they can feed all the way around it on the grass. So works out really well. And then we supplement with hay.
So you can see that hot wire going around the outside. They're just protecting the hay in the middle, and they eat around the outside. Here's our 3 littles, and they're 2 girls and 1 boy.
Yep, the brownish one is Dominique's cow, the calf, the one I milked, and that's her calf. And then the other 2 are out of the 2 heifers.